Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, denizens of the interwebs. I am kcStranger. These are my four, sonorous players, and except for Radiclus tonight because his talking hurts. And this is the Crystal Tomb. As always, the Crystal Tomb is brought to you by XSplit Broadcaster and by Tractor Blonde. Um, Last time, the party rested in the desert before deciding to cut through the spring Feywild, with the goal of shortening their trip to the Kalaya Isles. They made their way to a desert oasis that sat between harsh cliffs and followed the way that opened at noon. They emerged into a glade in the spring Feywild, where they were met with a small girl, white-haired, barely 2 feet tall. Um, the girl spoke only Sylvan, but the party worked out that she was lost, and they decided to help her find her way home. They guided her past dangers in the forest and eventually returned her to her father, Sayus. Sayus, considering himself in the party's debt, brought them into his home, gave them refreshment, answered some of their questions. In particular, Quizmiligus asked about his Book of Shadows, did get confirmation that it was from an Autumn Archfey, declined to trade a portion of his happiness for more information. Fallon, meanwhile, traded a portion of his gnome salts for information on the moss he and Quizmiligus discovered in the backwoods. It proved to be usable for, I believe, 2 potions of true seeing, which Sayus began to work on. So while Sayus was working, Quizmiligus excused himself and used his crystal ball to cast scrying on a person of great interest to him. The casting succeeded, and that is where we're going to pick up. So Quiz, I will be simply narrating for a while as I describe what you see in the crystal ball. Jump in if at any point you would like to do something. Otherwise, I'm going to sort of just, tell you what you see.
Okay.
So a scene reveals itself to you in the crystal ball. You see a woman stand up out of a bath. Her skin is gray as the dusk. Her hair is the orange of a glowing coal. Her form is lean and shapely. She's scarcely taller than yourself. And for a moment, you think something has gone wrong with the spell. But as she turns and you see her face, you know it's succeeded. There's an almost intangible sameness about this woman. The unflinching determination in her expression, the glint in her amber eyes, and despite her appearing different than you knew her, it tells you all you need to know. But yet, you realize, as she dries herself and slips into a crimson robe, that the Ella you knew was, at least in part, an illusion. An understandable illusion, perhaps. One who looked like this could hardly avoid standing out. But an illusion nonetheless.
How dare she lie to us?
Well, just a quiz. Um, as you watch Ella, or perhaps the one you know as Ella, as you watch, she walks to a nearby table, and for a few minutes you watch as she simply brushes her hair and gazes out a window. Outside, you see the rock of a stone wall, surrounded by great piles of thorns and briars, and an orange moon overlooking the entire scene. And then you watch as Ella leaves the room, closing the door behind her, and passes down a short hallway to another room. The building is all of smooth, dark stone, with tapestries and carpets of a dark red trimmed in white. Ella mumbles something as she holds her hand to the door, which you notice has no handle or latch, but it swings open, and the room beyond is full of lamps. The lamps seem to float in midair, and in their black iron cradles burn flames of a steady, pale white. And as Ella passes her gaze on each, scenes reveal themselves in the flames. You see a study whose window looks out on a barren, icy landscape, a bedroom trimmed with gold and hung with weapons, and a sparkling forge full of neatly ordered tools of the trade. At last, she settles on one lamp that shows, and it's a little hard to see in the small image within an image, but appears to be a simple wooden room with a desk, two beds, and a small sitting area like you might expect at any inn. Um, the figure of a woman reveals itself in the flame, human, though it's hard to make out a face in the small image. You hear Ella speak. Tirsa, so happy to finally speak with you. It was so much trouble tracking you down. My contact speaks highly of you. Tirsa's voice is undistorted, as if she was in the same room. It's my honor to speak with you, lady, if I may be so bold as to ask. What might be your aim in reaching out to one such as me? I'm not in the business of trading away my hopes. Always straight to business with you humans, isn't it? Tirsa shrugs. Marvelous as this device of yours is, I'm sure it can hardly stand up to the experience of meeting you in person. I'd save pleasantries for such a time. Ella's laugh sparkles crystalline. Very well, then. First, I would ask what news you carry from Anangrun. Tirsa pauses and then says, Anangrun is overrun by the void, or soon will be. I have no contacts left there, nothing but what I brought with me. Indeed. Well, that is dire. No doubt you've come to have some understanding of the powers that rule your world now? I have, Tirsa replies. Well then, says Ella, know that those powers run counter to your interests and mine. The goddess said little when I spoke to her, but that bumbling band must be allowed to succeed in their errand, for all our sakes. Know also that that group, you know of whom I speak, bring with them a power to counter those who rule this world. I believe our only hope is to play with fire. I would ask you to help let loose that power, to a point. Tirsa hesitates and then responds. I believe I've partially deciphered your meaning, but all is not yet clear to me. You see Ella smile weakly, and then she says, They bring with them one lately freed from long imprisonment. He is tall and strong and unmistakable, and not easily thrown from his course. I wish you to help arrange for this one to be separated from that group. And at this point, the vision starts to cloud just a bit. You know you're reaching the last few moments of the scrying. And Ella continues, I wish you to help arrange for this one to be separated from that group, that there may be disruption to the powers that be. I expect them to resist this course, but... And whatever Illa continues, and whatever Tirsa responds, you don't hear it, as also your hearing becomes muddled. As the vision granted by the crystal ball fades, you wonder, uncertain, if you saw Ella turn to glance up at you. Did you see a small smile, perhaps? You can't really tell.
I'm gonna put the crystal ball away and just kind of wait for us to leave.
Are you waiting outside?
No, with the group.
Okay, all right. So you're gonna. I think you went outside for that, so you're heading back in at this point.
Yeah, wherever the quiet space was.
What you been up to, Quiz?
Just checking in on something. I'll tell you all later.
Okie doke.
It's at about this point that Sayus comes back from the room where Oh my. Said about this point where Sayus returns from the other room where he's been mixing some potions, question mark. And
Meth.
he comes over and stands for a moment and says, well, those will take a few hours to simmer. He goes ahead and sits back down and says, oh, actually, no, before he does, he'll say, is there anything else I can fetch for you all?
Nope.
Excellent. He goes ahead and sits down at that point, and he says, if I'm not prying, would you mind my asking what brings one such as yourselves to the Spring Feywild?
Shortcut.
He thinks for a moment and then nods. Right, right. Um, he sort of looks outside through a small window, and then he shrugs and says, I did overhear you saying that you had a full day's journey ahead of you. If you would like, you are more than free to use my cottage for the night, ill-suited as it is for so many guests. Otherwise, he shrugs and says, simply make yourselves at home. Well, he thinks for a moment. Make yourselves comfortable.
Okay. Uh, are there any dangers we should know about for the remainder of our journey? You know, we figured we'd save time coming through here, but like, you know.
He nods and says, there are monstrous beings in the woods. Great birds, ogres, trolls, that sort of thing. If you have a sharp ear about you and move silently, you can avoid most of them. There are also ones such as me who can be perilous in our own way, although he sort of glances you over. As long as you are not foolish, I don't imagine you should come to any trouble. Don't give out information wantonly. Don't make any accidental deals.
I look at Colleen as he says, don't give her information wantonly. I just look dead at, not even trying to hide it, it's just aggressively looking straight at Colleen.
Aggressively, you say.
It's just like, why mine's a bit like, yeah, giving away information wantonly.
I shoot you back the same glare.
I know. Pot kettle. Let's go.
Oh, it's funny. All right.
What is Dom doing in this scene?
Oh, right, he's here.
Yeah. No, Dom and Tavrith are both there, and both have been just sort of letting you do your thing. Give me insight.
Ooh, the first roll of the day. Let's go.
I am also sleepy,
True. Yep. Disadvantage.
Insight.
so I'm not very insightful.
Well, am I
No.
insightful? Let's see.
Although, let me see how hidden your targets are with their emotions. Where is that? That's what
You're
I'm
an
looking
emotion.
for. I'm an emotion. Okay,
I can't help it. I'm sorry.
that's fair. Okay.
I'm gonna give you guys a picture later that my friend sent me saying it's gonna be you in the future.
Okay. So physically, just like observing them, both have just been sitting quietly and listening this entire time, obviously. Dom is like actually almost slumped a little bit, which is kind of physically necessary given that, well, actually, no, not when he's sitting. He looks, how shall I put this? Without being sloppy, kind of like aggressively relaxed. He's kind of just watching and waiting. Tavrith, on the other hand, has just been, he's sort of found himself a spot on the wall and has just been listening and watching. Kane, you know that Dom is kind of just letting you guys do your thing. Like, the laziness in his expression is very much real. He's like not concerned about anything that's going on, not looking to get himself wrapped up in anything. Tovrith is kind of inscrutable to both of you.
Also, just by the way, Dom never followed up on my little conversation, did he? That I had with him.
I mean, you haven't talked with each other again, have you?
That's true. I figured like he'd like approach me about stuff.
Mm.
But I guess not. No one told me to continue with that, so I don't know.
So after I look at Dom, I'm going to stare at, like, you know when you're looking at someone and the minute you see them try to look at you, you look away?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to look away. I'm going to stare at him just for a little bit longer than I should, to where I
Okay.
know he saw me. And then I'm just going to slowly look back at Sayas and the rest of the group.
Okay.
Is
Yeah,
that-
you do. You sort of have your eyes on him for a bit, and there does come a moment. You know, he is occasionally taking in the scene, and you know, his eyes look over in your direction. You do meet eyes for a moment. His posture, his expression do not change in the slightest, but he does hold your gaze until you look away.
Can Kane just like kind of look between them as that happens? Just like
Give me perception to see if you notice it.
I figured I was doing insight on Tom too, but okay.
Well, that doesn't
Percep-
mean you're looking at both him and Quiz at this moment.
This is true. You're right. I guess I'll just see if I roll higher than 16. Or just exactly. What the heck? Again?
You don't notice this. It's too fleeting of a thing.
Okay. I understand. Kane will just, I don't know. Drool. He's a dumb boy.
Okay. Is anyone saying or asking about anything further before I sort of move the scene on?
Was there anything else about, he just said there's your regular monsters and then like fey people are sketchy. That was his response.
More or less. Fair
That's what
synopsis.
so sketchy.
I'm fine with that.
Being sketchy?
No,
Um,
not being the not being overly curious with that.
You know, I mean, it's getting late, right?
it's like mid-afternoon right now. Not that long, but you imagine it will be going on evening by the time the true seeing potions are done.
I'm gonna whisper to Quiz. It's just how far is the exit exactly?
I look slowly over at Kane. That's a valid question.
I'm
And
gonna
then I
lean over
turn
to
my head
Fallon.
back.
I can answer
Hey.
for. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Hey Fallon, how far is the exit exactly?
Do I need to make a roll?
No, you already know this. You worked it out before. It's about a day.
A day.
Okay, so if we left tomorrow morning, we'd get there without having to rest. Do we want to stay here all night, or do we want to keep walking and camp out?
Is fine.
Which one's fine? There are two
Here.
options.
He said here.
Sorry.
Oh, here's fine. I didn't hear. No pun intended there. Or here, I guess. Okay. Well, do you like cards? I say to the Fey guy.
He raises an eyebrow. What did you have in mind?
I don't know. We figure that we'll just chill here and head out in the morning to get to where we're going. So, I'm bored.
He thinks for a moment.
What do y'all do to pass the time around here?
Well, there are the chores and meeting with the neighbors. And there's sort of a, he gives sort of a wry grin as he says that. Tending to the garden, various other things such as people like me do. He smiles.
Do you have any cool, interesting potions / poisons / herbs?
He thinks for a moment and says, maybe. Are you interested in trading?
Sure.
He looks at you for a moment and says, how serious of a buyer are you?
I mean, I'm more of a crafter myself, but I find it hard to get supplies.
Oh, you're after ingredients then. I see.
Well, or finished products too. You see, I don't usually have time to do any kind of making of stuff. So
He says, right, I see.
I forget I have it actually sometimes.
He says, well, I have some herbs that might potentially interest you, a few finished items, and you mentioned poisons. Actually, let me double check my thing real quick. There we go.
So as
Right.
this is happening, Casey,
Mm-hmm.
Quiz is gonna get up and just go. Is there like a front porch or stoop or something?
Yeah, just sort of a rough stone porch. It doesn't like actually elevate from the ground, but there's a stone area in front of the cottage.
So he's gonna walk outside and just kind of sit just off like to the side of the door a little bit, just outside for a time.
Okay. Um. Uh. No one really reacts too much. Sayus just sort of nods to you as you walk out. Um. Uh. Kane. Sayus asks, I do have one thing that might be of interest to you. Are you familiar with Midnight Tears?
That sounds familiar, Casey. Am I?
I don't think it's come up in game.
Isn't that what killed me? What killed me?
No, that was, I believe it's called Dragon's Bane.
Okay. I don't know why that sounds so familiar.
Uh,
No, not familiar with Midnight Tears. What does that do?
All right, so you ask, says, well, it's an ingestion poison, but if not neutralized, then, well, it packs quite the punch come midnight.
How big a punch are we talking?
Says, well, that depends on exactly how strong of a brew you're looking for. The normal version, he looks you over. I don't think it would manage to do in anyone in your party, but there is a way to enhance it. And he looks left and right. I might have managed that.
Kane looks at the food again.
Was the thing that killed Kane called like Dragon's Tears?
I think it was called Dragon's Bane.
Okay, that's okay. Never mind.
Kane looks at the food as he says that. Wait. Manage what?
Managed to make it stronger than the base form.
How? So how strong is the base? Like, what could it take out recently?
He thinks for a moment. Actually, let me quickly check something.
Like, could it take out a Qui-Gon Jinn? Or like
A Qui-Gon Jinn.
yes.
I
They're really
do
big.
not know to what you are referring.
Really big hairy dudes.
That's not really narrowing it down.
They live underground.
Still not helping much.
Are there a lot of hairy dudes underground?
I mean, yes.
I only ever saw the one group of them. Okay.
He says, you're familiar with orcs, no doubt. The base form would be able to take down about 2 of those.
Ooh. So it's a delayed poison. He had to store in the morning. It hit him. It it killed him at midnight.
Exactly.
Interesting. Interesting.
He looks at you. I can tell you're still thinking it over. Just let me know if you're
Well,
interested.
what's the price, the offer? Like, what do you want for it?
He says, the base form I might potentially be willing to simply sell you for some of your currency. The enhanced one, which I will say is some 3 times stronger than the base form. He smiles, says, well, you've heard the offer that I made to your friend earlier. Something along those
I
lines would
gotta
be
get
necessary.
happiness.
He shrugs. Gotta get by somehow.
Man, I know about that though. Like 1% seems like a lot.
It's 1%.
That sounds like a lot. It sounds like a lot to gain. It's not math.
Yeah, he nods and says, make that deal 50 times, and it certainly is.
Why would you want to make it 50 times?
You presumably wouldn't,
Good. Why'd you bring it up?
because I'm only asking one.
Kane kind of like squints a bit. His head hurts.
Look, I think I'm being very straightforward with you for one of the Fae.
Wait, Colleen, how much is 1%?
1% of what, Kane?
Happiness.
Well, Kane, are you a happy person?
I mean, I guess we're kind of stopping an apocalypse because of a mineral. So, I don't know. Can you get back to me on that one? But how much is 1%?
How do you quantify a feeling, Kane?
How do you quantify a feeling? I look back at the fake.
It hasn't happened yet.
He
so
says, that's what we do.
No, but how?
He just shakes his head and says, talk to me later if you're interested. In the meantime, would you be interested in the base form for perhaps 50 gold?
Sure, I'll take I'll give him 5 plat. There you go.
Brilliant. Just a sec. He disappears to the other room. He comes back. 0.2 pounds. Midnight tears. The
Still encumbered. Dang it.
Yep. I can give you the I mean, if you have any gold that you're carrying, you could deduct that instead. That might help.
I don't.
Oh, sad
I only
face.
have
That's hysterical.
help safe and wait.
That's hysterical. So I can send you the rules again later if you want. It's in the
Yeah.
Dungeon Master's Guide, actually. But the way it works is a creature that ingests it suffers no effect until midnight. If it has not been neutralized before then, the creature must succeed on a DC 17 con saving throw. And they take 96 poison damage on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one.
Cool. So only good against people who have shit saves.
Yeah, and 31 isn't all that much HP.
Yeah. All right.
So, but you know, if you're looking to not assassinate like not a legend and like not be anywhere near them when they die, so it's not obvious
I
that
mean,
it's
it's
you.
useful. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just not,
It is situational.
it's more situational than I thought it would be. Oh well. All right. Hey, Khalil, want to play some cards?
Sure, Kane. Why not?
You want to make a bet?
What kind of bet, Kane?
You give me one of your spells.
One of my spells?
Yeah.
How would I do that, Kane?
I don't know. You're the magic person.
I've never made a scroll before, nor do I think you could use it.
I feel like I'm being insulted.
Make of it what you will. I believe that is how it will work.
Let's just play some cards.
Alright.
And so I figured to play cards until we go to sleep.
So, as you start to play cards, Saya says, I should go talk to my daughter. He stands up, and at this point, he does turn towards Dom and Tavrith, who, again, have been sitting silent this entire time. And he walks over, like, a little bit closer to them, but still respectfully distant. And he sort of just bows his head. Not like a deep bow or anything, but definitely enough to be a bow. And says, I know not what manner of folk you may be, but he says, and actually let me think here for a moment. I thank you for coming in peace and am honored to have you in my home. Tavrith sort of gives a low, solemn nod to this. And Dom just like sort of looks his direction and gives like that tiny micro nod that you give to a stranger on the street, maybe. And with that, Sayus turns around and walks away. All right, before we sort of fast forward to the night, you've got about, I don't know, actually like 8 hours at least to play with before you have to go to bed. So anyone looking to use that for anything in particular?
Hey, how do you spell Sayas? This guy's name.
Yep, I'll type it.
Thank you.
I will make some poisons with my ingredients that I have in my inventory.
Oh, what ingredients do you have?
I have. Where'd it go?
Okay,
I have
Fallon, you can give me
powder.
a survival roll. And actually, if you're taking Gamork with you, Gamork can do so as well to forage. And I'm sorry, Kane, what kind of ingredients did you say you have?
I have Willow's powder and 8 mixing ingredients. And I have some leopard foot poison.
Well, so I think both of those are like already developed things, actually.
Mixing ingredients?
No, like I think they, yeah, here we go. I actually refrained from removing those rules from my sheet, so I can just send them to you real quick. Those aren't ingredients, those are in fact finished things that can do things. So,
I guess it's just according to me. Then
boom.
Then Kane will play cards until Kane gets bored, and then go meditate.
And if you need either of those explained, just let me know.
It's all about that meditation, though.
Fallon, let me see here. You head outside with Gamork. You're being somewhat careful because you know, like Saya said, there are things about that you might not want to run into alone at the very least. You are having a bit of trouble. Gamork, though, does pick up on something. And you walk over to him and you find just you're not really sure what it is. It just strikes you as interesting. It's an herb that kind of just looks like sort of a slender stalk. I mean, kind of like you'd think of with like or actually no. Okay, so it's a woody stem, kind of like thyme, if you've ever seen that. Still on the stem. But the leaves that come off of it are much longer, slender, with sort of a white section in the middle. and green coming along the outside. It almost seems to shimmer in the pale light coming down through the trees, and you're not quite sure what you found, except that it seems kind of interesting. Although I guess you can give me nature if you want to try to identify it. You cannot identify it. There might be more interesting things deeper in the woods. You definitely feel like you might be running a risk by continuing your foraging expedition further, but would you like to do so? All right. Okay. In that case, I need you to give me stealth as you continue further and try to move carefully. And Gmork as well. Okay. And then give me survival once more for each. Okay. Yeah, so going further, you look around, you're not really quite sure what you're looking for, and so you don't turn up much. The main thing that you do find, though, is you find a larger little stockpile of more of the same of what you found before. So you gather it up. You've got a fair handful of the stuff now, whatever it is. And heading back at this point, it's been, I don't know, like an hour and a half probably. Okay, cool. All right, so you head back, and it's actually around that time. So as you're entering the door, you sort of get a view down the hallway as you come in, and you see the girl who you met the other day. Actually, just her feet sticking out of a doorway down the hall. You hear the telltale signs of scrubbing. Appears she's cleaning a bathroom or something. You also, a short moment later, see Sayus come out of a room. And he says, "Oh, Fallon, I believe that your potions should be just about ready. Let me go check on them." Do you just sort of head into the room where everybody else has been camped out? All right. You head in. A short moment later, Sayus comes back and says, "Here you go." And he puts 2 bottles on the table. You have 2 potions of true seeing, 0.2 pounds each. All right. Fallon, were you looking to do anything else in particular at this moment? Okay, cool. Let me see here. Just for future reference, you can gather, let me see here. Probably let's call it, let's go ahead and say you can gather up to half a pound of that, forest herb or whatever you want to call it. All right. So let me make a note of that real quick. right, cool. All right. Anyone else looking to do anything in particular before the night?
Nope.
Yeah. So when Quiz goes outside, he's gonna work on his book for a little bit.
Okay.
The Adventures of Quizmilligus the Almighty.
All
I
right.
think he's getting just to the point where he's actually writing the scene where Cain unleashes ultimate evil into the world.
Okay.
And
Okay.
he specifically writes it to make Cain sound absolutely like the bad guy. This whole perspective is definitely told from Quiz the leader, and Cain is Judas.
Mhm.
So he finds some joy in writing his book for a time, and then that kind of he gets through that scene and he ends just where the three demigods or whatever they were teleported us away. You know who I'm talking about? The three spirits, or
Yes.
teleporting us to Tavra is where he's at.
Okay.
So then he's gonna kind of put his book away, pack it back into his pouch, and really process what he saw. And through that, he's going to write this into the Book of Shadows. I'm just going to post it in chat because it's a long. If anything needs clarified, let me know. I'm a very bad writer.
Okay. No, not a problem. Just for the recording, I do want to, or just for sake of saying it, I do kind of want to read it. Do you want to read it or me?
I'll read it.
Okay.
So it says, "My dear Ella, I saw you today. A gift from a dragon gave me sight, and I am in the Feywild. I've missed you, and wanted to see how you were. Why do you want Dom to be separated from us? Am I just a weapon or a pawn in this game Innes is playing? I want the truth. I will find you soon. When I do, we have to talk. No, we need to. I almost gave 1% of my happiness to a fae named Seos of the Spring Court to learn more about you. That's where I'm at." And then after with love, it says his real name.
Okay.
And just so we're on the same page with that, she has always known his real name.
Yep.
Okay.
Got it. Okay. Let me think about that real quick. Do you linger outside after you finish writing that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
He's just gonna watch the ink soak in as it normally does, and just stare and hope for a response.
Okay. First of all, this time that you're spending just writing on this here in a not exactly the place that you've been trying to get to, but closer than you've ever been, does have something of a restorative, hopeful effect on you. You know, I mean, tinged with a bit of wondering about what you saw and, uncertainty about, like, the trust in your patron. Um, all that being said, tonight when you rest, go ahead and regain um, all of your hit dice.
Ooh, shit. Okay.
With reference to that. If you want to just mark them up now, that's fine.
Yep.
You wait outside for a good long time. And you hit the point where you're kind of thinking that you're not going to get an answer as you see the sun not set yet, but start to grow kind of low, and your thoughts start to turn of towards like, how long do I intend to stay out here exactly? And that's when you do get a response. And it says the following. And let me get this right real quick. It is necessary that your group respond convincingly to what I hope to occur. I would ask that you not share what you saw. In fact, I would request that you seek to aid what will happen should the chance arise. There are many ears and eyes in this world, but if you make your way to me, I will tell you what I can, including of my twin brother who lives in Spring.
You slimy bastard. I mean that with love and respect, as I do.
You disgusting creature. I love you.
So it's necessary that we have to respond to correctly. Don't share it. Help them when the situation happens. And she has a twin brother in the spring that she's neither confirmed or denied is Saya.
That's correct. It's an accurate recollection of the content of what I just said.
I was shorthanding.
Yep.
Let's remember 2 seconds.
He reads that, and he sort of gets a smile on his face and says, I'll help remove him in any way necessary. And your brother's an excellent host. However you say that. Isn't it like, I don't know.
Yeah, host.
An excellent host.
Yeah, so you write that. Let me think. She writes back, Father always preferred him.
Confirmation. Dude, I'm excited about this is my backstory. Shit's lit.
With that, Quiz does feel incredibly not relieved because he's still really curious about his role in everything and what their relationship actually is. But then it hits him that he didn't sleep last night. And he's going to close his book and bound it very tightly to himself as he normally does. Lift his grumpy 3-foot tall body off the ground and find a corner to sleep.
Brilliant.
Like that you use the word frumpy.
I said grumpy, but frumpy is better. Let's pretend I said frumpy.
All right. So, Quiz, as you come in and the sun well and truly begins to set, you're all sort of making yourselves comfortable. Sayus comes out and sets out dinner for all of you. It's I'm trying to think how to describe this. Um, they seem like simple dishes. Just like, you know, a salad, maybe some lamb, potatoes, that kind of thing. But actually, everything there seems to be some sort of like spice blend going on the meat. There's some sort of interesting dressing on the salad. Everything just is taken up a small notch, even though it looks fairly basic. Um, at this point, the small girl from earlier in the day does come out and join you all for dinner. Um, just sits down and eats next to you. Finally, Sayus does actually nod to her, and she looks up and sort of waits until she, catches the eyes of a few people in the group. And then she says in common, "Thank you."
This bitch. I don't say that in character, by the way, but just me saying this bitch. You can comment and shit.
Quiz nods and says, "You're welcome."
She nods and goes back to eating.
I wait for everyone else to start eating before I take a bite of food. It's like
Uh,
watching.
Okay. Make a Constitution. No, I'm just kidding.
It's like, wait, I might wait till after midnight to eat.
Yeah, right. You'll survive another day.
All right, but like, and he's not trying to like be sly about it. He literally just is like waiting for everyone else to take a bite.
Yeah, yeah. No, I get it. What? Once burned? I don't know. Anyways,
Yeah, you're not gonna get me again, Casey.
yeah. So, you do during dinner, Sayus and Tavrith do actually share a few words. It seems to be all like weirdly like just small talk. They talk about like interesting places they've encountered out in the wilds, and not even
Food.
like magical or anything like that, just like, good scenery, that kind of thing. Um, they, mention a little bit like strange people they've met. This is dinner. Um,
Oh, okay.
Is
yeah,
it code? Oh,
and stuff
Kane
like
thinks it's
that.
code. Kane's gonna try to crack the code.
If you want to try to crack the code, give me, I guess, call it insight.
Hell yeah! Give me that nat 20. Give me the nat 20. You can't hide anything from me. 19's almost
Okay,
a 20.
yeah. You Okay, so as you listen to them, you realize like, okay, actually you're pretty sure Sayus is just having a normal conversation, but Tavrith is mysterious to you. What is he working on this Fey dude? You're not sure, but you think he's up to something, and you spend the entire dinner trying to work it out.
I just stare at Tavrith as I think about it.
Uh, but yeah, you pass a pleasant dinner. Sayus actually leaves before. Well, actually, he stands up. He and the girl sort of clean up all the dishes. Then he comes back to where all of you are. And as the girl actually starts bringing in like mats and blankets into the main room, and Sayus looks at you all and says, "So for most of you, I'm afraid I can make no finer accommodations than this." And then he looks at you, Quizmilligus. "Though for you, I believe you could make use of the guest room if you like."
Oh, I will. Thank you.
I'll make it to guest room.
Says, um, "Very well. Adea will bring you back." And this is
That
the
was,
first time you've heard the girl's name, actually.
that was in character.
Oh, wait, what'd you say?
How come he gets the guest room?
He's short enough for it to be comfortable for him.
Oh, makes sense.
Um, he says, "Anyway, I will let you tend to yourselves. There's, uh, water and snacks in the pantry if you need anything. Um, I'll be back there. And he leaves, and you're alone with the girl for a moment as she sort of goes in and out of the room, just setting up sort of sleeping areas basically for all of you. Like I said, you are going to be fairly close to each other, but not really any more uncomfortable than some of the places that you've camped in those terms. Like I said, it's like this
And there's
area is like the entire front half of the house, basically.
no snow on anyone's sleeping bags this time.
Not yet. Actually, that'd be pretty difficult. There might be a spell to do it. Like Colleen just ice knifes you in the middle of the night.
Pardon this.
But yeah. So after the girl finishes setting everything up, she sort of stands and just sort of looks at you all for a moment. And then she says, "Have a good night, everybody."
Okie doke. You too.
She
When I get in the room, I'm gonna cast Detect Magic at will.
Okay. Yep. So Adea guides you back. You detect magic over the room. You let me think here. You actually do notice something. But it's not over the room in particular. Actually, the entire house has sort of a faint trace of illusion magic on it.
Yeah, Quiz is just gonna try his best to sleep.
All right. So, long resty stuff, everybody. If you have any items, go ahead and recharge those. Hit dice, Quiz gets all of those. If you have exhaustion, go ahead and cure yourselves of a level of that. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Cool. Let me think here. Yeah, spell slots, hit points, all that lovely stuff. The next morning comes. Colleen, as usual, you wake up a few hours before everyone. Are you just, I don't know, sitting outside, working on something, just passing the time?
Just passing the time, enjoying the strange new environment.
Okay. As the morning comes, actually, it's once again the small girl who, Adea, who comes out first, and you see her start to busy herself in the kitchen, um, cracking eggs. There appears to be a small oven that she throws some bread into. Um, there's a stove where she takes out what appear to be sausages, putting together a actually reasonably normal seeming breakfast. Oh, sorry. Okay. And yeah, a short time later, the rest of you wake up to the smells of sausage, eggs, toast, fruit. Uh, Looks like some kind of fruit juice, although you can't quite place it. Um, and yeah, nice little breakfast. Quiz, I imagine you probably come out last, secluded as you are.
Oh yeah, and being exhausted, definitely.
So everyone
Hey.
else is probably well through, like well into breakfast by the time you come out, but there's still plenty. And Sayus would follow you out a short time later. Kane, were you saying anything?
I was saying, can get there like second.
You step of the wind over to it.
Yeah.
Stick your
Well, because
dagger
he
into a
hasn't been exhausted.
sausage.
He didn't get exhausted. He didn't get hurt during the dragon fight. Like Kane's like feeling good, probably compared to like everyone else who's like died and
Yeah. Although, actually, does anyone else have exhaustion levels left at this point?
Not anymore.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You all have a pleasant breakfast. And Sayus greets you once more. And says, all right, everybody, I imagine you're about to be on your way. Is there anything else I can help you with before you go? He looks over at you, Kane, and says, interested in any poisons?
You can explain what 1% is to me.
He looks at you for a moment and says, it's 1 copper out of 1 gold.
Kane starts counting on his fingers in his hands. He's just doing that for like 5 minutes. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't.
After you've been doing
Everyone's
that
gonna
for
let him
about
count.
20 seconds, Quiz, Sayus looks over at you and says, is he always like this?
Usually considerably worse.
He
Like what?
nods. I just want to note, every single one of my NPCs asked that about Kane. I just want to point that out real quick.
Why does everyone keep saying that?
Well,
Like what?
I've lost Quiz's voice. Shoot. We'll tell you when you're old. That's not it. We'll find.
All right, cool.
I look at Sayus. Like what? Tell me. Everyone says this.
He says, I'll tell you once you explain to me what 1% is.
Let's go, guys.
All right, so taking off then?
I don't like the
Quit.
Feywild anymore.
Quiz is gonna make an attempt to be the last one to leave.
Okay. Is anyone particularly trying to do otherwise?
I mean,
Cool.
Kane's just like walking as quickly now. He doesn't like
Yeah.
the Feywild. He wants to go.
I'll say you succeed in this.
Picking up the Book of Shadows and kind of gesturing to it. In the Feywild, are you able to trust family? And he looks down at his book and looks back at Sayus with a little bit of a grin.
His eyes narrow just a bit as he looks at you, and he says, he looks, you see him look down at his daughter. Give me insight.
I am no longer sleepy, so this could be better. Oh, that's
Okay. His expression is inscrutable as you see him look down at Adea, but then he looks back to you and says, the general rule in the Feywild is to trust no one.
She told me you were always father's favorite. Thank you for your hospitality.
He nods.
And he walks towards the door and leaves.
All right. So you all are heading on your way towards your intended exit, I believe. I would like to get 2 people to try to navigate the group. If you want to ask for help from either of your NPCs, feel free. But this, excuse me, is just going to be survival checks for navigation.
I will help Fowlin. Your
I was gonna say I'm not gonna do so hard if you ask me to do it.
Your Mugonder. 7.
Okay. Yeah. So for the most part, Fallon and Gamork are just sort of leading you through. And the entire time, Kane is just sort of saying, like, shouldn't we be going that way? And Fallon, you're like, you just shake your head. No.
I'd like to think that Kane is like acting like Bear Grylls when he's like on a shoot.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, wait, what is the? If you look at this right here, like stuff like that. Like he's just like going along. He's like, wait. Okay, keep going.
And then there is this moment as you sort of are on like sort of like a game trail basically through this forest, and you're following the forest, and Kane says, "Shouldn't we be going that way?" And he just sort of points like generally into the trees. And Fallon, you go to shake your head no, but then you stop and catch yourself, and you're like, "Hold on 2 seconds, Kane is right this time." Um, and despite how bad most of Kane's advice has been, you realize you actually would have gone off track this time, and so yeah, Kane helped.
Ha ha.
Um,
Kane was useful.
it was a group check, and I needed a combined roll above a certain amount, and Kane just barely got you over it. So, um, so yeah, you make your way through bright forests, over a stream, alongside the edge of a low mountain or a tall hill, take your pick. And finally, you get to a deeper glade. So Fallon, you know at this point you're getting very close to your destination. As you come to the spot that you've been looking for, you see a circle of pale stones in a glade that's decorated with blue and white flowers. Leaned up against one of the stones, closest to you, outside the circle, is a short man, barely 2 feet tall, wearing a brown and white suit and a cap. He has a black beard that's flecked with green and sharp, darting green eyes. And as you approach, he lifts his hand sort of casually into the air and says, and I apologize for how terrible this accent is going to be, "Aye, I thought I saw a strange lot crawling about these woods. Visited my son's house, did you? I imagine you must be seeking the way out of here. Well, you found it. 'Tisn't open at the moment, I'm afraid, but," and he gestures towards sort of the grassy floor around him, "please do make yourselves comfortable."
Insight check?
Sure. Give me
Is he
insight.
telling us? Is he telling us? Is he scamming us? Is this a scam artist? He's tricking us? Is it a trap? Is it a trap?
Oh,
Tell me, Casey.
25. All right.
Is it a trap?
You don't think he's necessarily lying to you, but this is very much a tricksy person. You can tell
Trixie
that much. Like, he definitely seems like he's teasing.
But he's being on the up and up about the portal not being open yet, and this being, in fact, where the portal is.
I mean, he's implied that, and you do not yet see reason to distrust him on that point. You also don't see a portal open, for what it's worth.
I'm gonna narrow my eyes. Be like, so this is where the exit is? Why is it closed? When will it open?
Oh, that just be the way of these parts. If you don't know the secret to the thing, then it can be a bit hard to find it open.
So you're saying you're the father of the gentleman who showed us good hospitality last.
Aye, unless I mistook the cottage he stayed in last night.
What's his name?
Oh, that'd be my boy Sayus.
How many sons does he have?
Why do I have to prove myself to ye? Last I checked, none.
How many children does he have?
Last I checked, one.
What's her name?
Look, did she tell you her name? Did he tell you her name?
Yep, starts with an A.
Very well. That'd be Adea. Don't ask me anything about her, though. I'm somewhat of an absentee. free as
How
the wood
well-
about me.
And he's your favorite out of your 2 kids.
Why all these questions about my family? What are you willing to trade for this knowledge?
Quiz just sort of smirks at him.
Pick up a rock and offer him the rock.
He looks down at it and says, "Not quite what I was thinking, but
What were you thinking? Was it 1%?
he looks at you. 1%. He thinks for a moment and says, well, maybe if you could find me a lady in the top 1%, then I might have something to trade with you."
I look at Colleen.
He,
Well, this just got dark.
Excuse
No,
me.
we're just passing through.
I, I'm not talking about slavery, my boy. What are you thinking?
That's not what I was thinking either.
Oh, he thinks for a moment.
I was like, gonna look at Colleen.
Well,
and be
maybe you were right. You know, he looks down at
absolutely
himself.
Colleen just kind of
Smiles.
shrug, like, eh? Okay. Like, I'm still asking. I'm like, you cool? You down? Kind of like shrug, you know?
I am not down, Kay.
Okay. Figured it wouldn't hurt to ask.
Yeah. He smiles and says, don't worry. I'm not being my usual tricksy self." He wanders around. "Although, if I were one such as ye, I might want to have the knowledge that's in my head about how these stones work."
So the portal's not gonna open on its own, is what you're saying.
He thinks for a moment and he says, "What I'm saying is that there's a secret to it."
Why did I
Is
get
it-
the feeling it was open when we got here? But since you've gotten to the Feywild, it's been closed.
If you want me to disappear and see if it reappears when I leave, I can certainly arrange that.
No.
Is there any amount of sunlight coming in?
So you have been wandering pretty much the entire day. You know what? I'll forgive the rations for today. I'll say you got some food from Sayus. Why not? The sun is getting low at this point, though.
Sun's getting real low. Sorry. Quiz, Colleen. Do we trust the weird guy?
Give him 1% of your happiness, Kane, so we can move along.
What is? How much is that though? How much is 1%?
Oh, you have met me, boy. Always lowballing him.
How much is 1%? It won't tell me.
He looks around and says, "Tell you what, I can tell y'all aren't in the deal-making mood just yet this minute. I'll take off and I'll come by later tonight and see if you're a bit more interested." And he snaps his fingers and disappears.
Wait. No. Dang it.
Tavrith,
Hmm?
would you mind helping us investigate these stones to get the portal on?
He nods and goes over to look at them.
Kane will also look at them and help.
Yeah, Quiz is trying to help as well.
Because Kane is the smart boy
Uh,
who knows his numbers.
anyone who wants to try to examine this can give me Arcana. I am currently looking up Tavrith's Arcana.
Let's do it.
Come on, natural 20.
Oh boy, my rules are bad.
It was not a
Oh
natural
yeah,
20.
Clean. Clean got
Hey,
a 27. Let's get
Clean
Oh,
out of
shit.
here.
means for that.
That was Tavrith, for what it's worth. Okay. Colleen, you... Let me see. Actually, let me see here.
Good work.
Okay.
Gamork rolled better than I did.
Yeah, so most of you can't really make anything of it. Like, some of you at least work out, like, yeah, they're like, you notice like very, very faint lines on the stones that betray some sort of magic about them, but beyond that, you can't really tell. Colleen, you quickly actually give up on using your eyes and start just running your hands over the stone, sort of building up a mental image of what you're seeing there. And you recognize, you have a realization. Give me nature.
Nature.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, girl. Oh,
Hey.
okay.
All right. Okay, brilliant. You're actually gonna figure it out then. You have a realization about them. The lines on these stones map the patterns traced by the stars and the planets. Well, not the stars and the planets of the material plane, but things do exist in the sky in the Feywild as well. And you are reaching way back into your education to remember like alternate plane astronomy. But as it turns out, it was an advanced course. And you work it out. And actually realize that, give me investigation.
Oh boy.
Casey's like, you will never. Come on, melons. Melon.
A.
Holy shit.
Hey, melons.
Let us out.
Let us out. Give us the fucking answer, Casey.
Okay, you work out that kind of like how astrology is all about looking for like conjunctions between things. You realize that all these stones are actually just a map of a certain actually set of orientations of the night sky. You wander out of the glade and look up at the night sky, sort of try to trace out how far off you think you are from what you worked out on the stones. And you come back pretty convinced. You're pretty sure you don't actually need to do anything. It'll just open on its own in 2 nights. So like this night, then you got to wait a day, and then the next night it opens, all on its own.
Interesting.
That old bit, motherfucker. He was being crafty and trying to fool us.
So we just have to wait.
Supposedly, says the stars and the rocks.
Well, it seems rather set in stone, so.
Ha.
We're leaving you here.
And that's our episode, kids.
Anyways, all right, so you guys are gonna have some time. Anyone looking to do things that take time? Because I'm just gonna sort of mostly accelerate through this, although I am gonna touch on one thing.
Quiz does write in the Book of Shadows, your dad sucks.
Actually, let me think about that. You just get back the response in parentheses, nods.
Fucking emoticons in the Book of Shadows.
Oh, she's installed the update. That's exciting.
Yes, this is, we've actually upgraded to 2.0. So we were previously, of course, on patch 1.8.17. So
Yeah.
All right. But yeah. Since you have time, anyone looking to do anything before I accelerate?
Kane's gonna like just meditate. Try to meditate again. He wants to practice this meditating thing. Feels like
Cool.
try to figure out why people keep saying is he always like this? Like what? He wants to
Oh,
solve this mystery.
for that, give me insight.
Do.
Okay. 16. You conclude that well, as it turns out, you have a realization that it's pretty obvious. You're repeating some sort of behavior, and everyone's having the same response to it. Now the question is, what behavior are you repeating? Give me intelligence. Or give me investigation, although it's probably the same thing.
It is the same thing.
All right, I'll just take whichever one you roll then. It's fine. Okay.
Tell me the secrets, Casey.
You think they're envious of you. I mean, because if you think about it, like, you've taken down more than your fair share of the big bads. You took no damage in that fight against the dragon. Like, you look cool as hell. I mean, sure, you've got the one coat, but you've got the other one that you can make look however you want. You're younger than the rest of them. You think like they're just getting crusty and old. And, you do have sort of a tinge of like, well, we've been through an awful lot together. So it's probably not like super mean-spirited or anything. But, as friends do sometimes. And you don't, as you think about it more, you don't necessarily hold it against them or anything. But you can understand why they might be a little envious of you. And you think that must be it. They're just finding ways to dig at you.
So we can all blame KC for all of Kane's future behavior. Because I am going to roll with this so hard.
I'm sorry, guys.
What could possibly go wrong?
But it was not only a nat 1, but also a 0. So...
That's funny.
Kane's cracked the case. They're just jealous.
Again, like I said, though, you don't hold it against them. It's completely understandable.
Yeah, no, of course. No,
Yeah.
no, it's Kane. I hope you guys like patronizing Kane.
Wait, Didja's coming back.
Oh, he wasn't here?
No.
Oh boy.
Let me just give it a quick moment.
So...
Did you hear any of what just went down?
No, I was getting a orange vanilla Coke Zero.
Okay, excellent. I'm not going to tell you.
Okay.
Just know Kane tried to figure out why people keep responding to how we do to him, and he rolled a 0. So
that tells me everything I need to know.
Conclusions have been made. Are they accurate? Maybe.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Anyone else looking to do anything?
So which day is this?
Well, so I'm gonna fast forward to just before bedtime, basically.
So Quiz is going to take the time to write the scene in his book where they meet Tavrith.
Okay.
He takes a great deal of time describing the state he saw Tavrith in before.
Okay.
And goes into detail of what it was like to watch Colleen do that. And really lifts Colleen up and really spends a lot of time talking about how that was the moment he realized who Colleen was and stuff like that. And I think that's all he'll have the time for.
All right.
Kane ever sees this book.
Oh, just wait. I have a lot of this book thought out.
It's gonna get published. Gonna be famous.
Yeah. That's my goal. The Adventures of Quizmilligus the Almighty.
It's brilliant.
Title pending.
All right.
No, that's the title. It's written in fancy script on page 1.
The
Like that SpongeBob.
yeah, exactly.
That's what
Yeah, that's what I had in mind.
the.
All right. Anything else before I fast forward?
As you set up camp, Kane's gonna help everyone set up their camps. Be like, don't worry, guys, I'll help you out.
You're all slightly confused as to why
Yeah.
Kane suddenly got this in him, but whatever.
Mike, what's gotten into you?
No, I just you guys have had it pretty rough these last few days and just in general, so help make things a bit easier for you.
Don't touch me or my things, Kane. Quiz holds his book closely to his chest.
Kane looks at the book. What does the book look like?
Oh no.
It's
that's
literally a stack of parchment
Oh.
that he just like ties together with a string. It's the stack of parchment he got from your dad.
Kane's gonna just kind of look at the stack of parchment.
I'm holding it against my chest.
What are you writing?
Can you read?
Yep.
A book. Do you read books?
Kane just kind of looks at you.
Or
I-
leisure or fun?
No, like, and I've read books.
Mm.
Usually, I'm too busy.
Mm. Well, one day when this adventure's over and he stacks it up and keeping it pointed away from him as best he can, slips it into his bag. Well, one day when all this is over, I hope to formally bind it and put it out to all of Inangrun and let everyone know the adventures of Quizmilligus the Almighty.
Are we in the book?
Are you a part of this adventure?
Hmm. I hope you're gonna give us copies when you finish it.
For a fee. I have to make a living.
I'm pretty sure you can live off of like what you've earned, what you've already earned so far in adventuring with us.
I have goals, Kane, and goals take a coin. Would you like to pre-order?
Quiz suddenly invents pre-ordering.
Book's currently in alpha. But if you
Canon.
back it now,
No, I'm just like Quiz goes on to found EA.
I
all
do
right.
art.
Kane's gonna take note of
Yeah, right.
where he put the book. He doesn't want to pay for the book.
No, this is a moment I've been waiting for as well.
It's at about this moment that you hear a small pop, and you look up towards about a third of the way around the circle. The dude from earlier has appeared and is swinging his legs from a tree branch, and he says, "So, having any fun with the circle?"
Oh, we figured it out.
He looks at you and says, "Aye, now did ye? Well, jolly good then. Care to share your solution? Why are you
Nope.
still here then?"
If you knew the solution, you'd know why we're still here. So you're either lying to us or don't know the solution.
He sighs and says, "I would never lie to ye. What do ye take me for?"
That's
Well,
definitely a lie.
We're going
Right.
to wait for the proper time to cross through.
He nods and says, "And what would the proper time be?"
You ask a lot of questions.
Yes. Why
would
do you
be-
ask so many questions of our traveling party?
I'd say fair game considering how many questions you asked me before.
He has a point. You'd ask a shit ton of questions with.
How are we supposed to trust a random man we meet in the woods?
He says, tell you what, tell me the answer you worked out, and if it's a good one, I'll tell you something interesting.
What kind of interesting? Like, you could tell us an interesting fact about a bug or something, but I don't really care about bugs, so how it'll be interesting to us?
He shrugs and says, if you tell me an answer I already know, I've learned nothing. I say that anything that I would call interesting is fair trade for essentially nothing. And he looks around. I can just about promise that at least one of you will be glad to know what I'm about to share.
Which one? Is it me? If it's me, I'll tell you.
He looks down and says, are you particularly interested in the affairs of the Fae?
Alright, I don't care. Don't tell him nothing. I look at Quiz, because that seems like a logical conclusion. Or Colleen. I can't look at both of them like one of them.
Why is that, Kane?
Well, because you're Fae, and he's all about Fae stuff too.
Yes, but I don't see why knowledge shouldn't be shared.
Tell him, Colleen.
Oh,
So please tell me why I shouldn't.
because he tried to trick us. He doesn't. Yeah,
And
that's the end.
then
Well, tricking us is mean. Why should we tell him knowledge? If he was trying to trick us earlier.
well, Kane, you never get anywhere by hiding things from someone.
You know, actually, you can get very far by hiding things from people clean. I don't know if you know this. You should try it sometime.
I don't know about that. Never really encountered anything like that.
Colleen, just tell them this seems like a fair price for free. Or almost.
I feel like there could definitely be some terrible consequences to revealing a secret to extra planner travel to a creature that may not know it. But, you know,
If we're talking outside of the game,
yeah, that's the outside of game.
I think
This is a
if
terrible choice.
this guy is who I think he is, I think he can go wherever he wants already. And we know from one of your roles that Faye talk in a way that benefits them, but are genuinely truthful. And if he knew a way to open the portal already, and Kane rolled a good insight check.
Yeah, I did. I rolled a good insight check, Casey, but I feel like it didn't get me anything. You know,
It got you
he was
something.
being he was being deceptive, and he didn't tell me that.
But anyways, that's the
I told
Didjaman
you that he
game
was
corner for a
being
minute.
like ornery or something like that. I told you he was
I
like
don't-
teasing you.
Yeah, he's bending the truth.
I guess I just like misunderstood what you meant by that. Then.
Yeah. Also, again, like you know, the Fae cannot tell a strict lie.
Oh right, I forgot that.
I'll leave it as your choice, Colleen, since you are the
Can we make
brains
a vote?
behind it. But
Colleen will start drawing a map diagram in the dirt.
I
Try to
like
explain it.
I step on it. Wait, hold on, let's take a vote. I like shuffle across this drawing, shuffle. Wait, let's take a vote.
What, Kane?
All in favor of telling him, raise your hand.
Quiz raises his hand.
Colleen raises her hand in kind of a shrug.
Tavrith looks hard at Squalash. I mean, excuse me, at the dude for a long moment.
Like the individual,
That dude for a long moment,
the
and
unnamed
slowly
man.
raises his hand. And then
No.
Dom looks back and forth, and he just shrugs and takes a step back.
Well, you already got majority vote with Tavrith. Go ahead and explain to the sneaky.
Fallon high fives clean.
I look very confused.
I don't trust.
That seems affirmative to me, clean. Spill the bean.
Gotta go back to drawing out my diagram.
I don't shuffle this time.
He watches it as you draw, and then as you finish it up, he looks at it and says, "Ah, well, that's damn impressive, that is." He... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Just said thank you.
Clean start.
He looks at you for a long moment and says, "Let me know if you're ever back in these woods." And he smiles and then just shakes his head and then turns to look at you, Quiz, and says, or actually, he addresses himself to the group, but is kind of looking in your direction. He says, "If ye e'er find yourselves in autumn, do find the Ashen Lady and tell her Squilage sends his greetings. Tell the lady she's a grandma and ask if she could send word on how that boy's twin is faring." And and as he says this, he actually sort of starts vanishing to where, sort of like Cheshire Cat style, it's only like the lower part of his head, like his mouth basically, that's still there by the time he finishes, and then he disappears completely. So I will go ahead and give you the names here. So
That was boring.
now, mind you, actually, everybody give me insight on that.
I refuse.
All right. Oh wow. Okay.
Oh, hell
Man.
yeah, baby.
If only we had rolled the second die first.
Well, actually, as it turns out, I based this, as I do, on a deception roll for him, and he rolled exceptionally low, actually. So yeah, quiz. Actually, all of you, yeah, except Colleen, who didn't roll. It does occur to you now that you're sort of tuned in to this guy's ways that nothing of what he said was a factual statement. It was all implication, and that does leave room for him to have implied something not true. That being said, he said what he said, and he implied that his name is that, and he implied that this individual is in Autumn and is tied up in all this.
Kane just says like, he didn't tell us anything. He asked us to do something, or he like gave us advice, but he didn't tell us any interesting facts.
No, I believe he did.
Nope, I call bullshit. Get back here. You owe us one interesting fact. I just start yelling.
Can I roll a history check on the Ashen Lady?
Let me think. That's fair. Yep, you can do that. And well, I'll just say for all of your benefit, Kane still thinks what he thinks, but for the record, he said that he would tell you something interesting, not that it would be a fact.
Nah, Kane just keeps yelling at the space where he was for like it's a solid 10 minutes.
Oh shit. Okay.
He pauses for like a minute to see if he
That
shows
was a
up.
roll.
He doesn't. He yells again for like 2 more minutes and then pauses.
Yeah, that was actually such a roll that I have to now like
He has to pull up his notes.
yeah, because you get hashtag information on this.
Hashtag plot.
He wasn't ready for you to roll such high history checks.
Yeah, I wasn't. Well, so you're just gonna get general information. But
General.
here is, you know what? I'm just going to copy the description for you.
Sure.
So this is the Autumn Lady. A scorched lady symbolizing the autumn pyres and heaths of homes. Covered in a dark red cloak, the woman seldom speaks, but often is remarked to have a soft, raspy voice until angered. Some believe her to be a discarded former summer archfey, punished for a previous treachery. It occurs to you that if what he's implying is the case, and they, got it on, and you've met now like their son, basically, then this would be a very odd pairing. And combining that with other things that you know about the Fae, and also like the fact that Squalash, who actually, you know what, on that check, I will give you a similar little bio for him.
It's a hell of a name, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. Well, actually,
make
you
that
know what? No, I can basically be very short. He's essentially the leprechaun deity. It occurs to you a few things. So first of all, he seemed pretty pleased about this. Second of all, you're pretty sure he would be quite a bit just like physically smaller than the Ashen Lady. And given the abnormality of them, again, getting it on, if he's pleased about it, she probably isn't.
So I will explain to the group who the Ashen Lady is. I'll tell them about the fact that if he was happy about something, that means the Ashen Lady probably is unhappy about that thing. And then I will proceed to tell them that I believe he was the father of Ella, and that Sayus was her brother, twin brother.
Okay, and I don't know if you've talked about this, so are you explaining that like Ella is your patron, basically?
Quiz would never use that word. However, I did tell them that Ella is the person I'm looking for.
Got it. Okay.
I've never admitted that she is Fae.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Good enough. Good enough.
But now we know she's Fae.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Quiz was never sure of that.
Well, why didn't you just ask him where she is then?
You saw how much trouble he gave us about this damn portal, and how cryptic that message just was. Do you think he'd willingly give information?
You didn't even try. That was the accent I just put on for some reason.
It's because I got hints of things from Sayus and then confirmed them with Ella through the Book of Shadows.
You talked to her with that book?
From time to time, when it suits.
How do you talk with a book?
You know what a book is, right?
But like, how do you talk to
have this-
somebody actively with a book?
I use a quill and ink and write in it. The ink goes away. I wait a little bit. Some new ink appears, and it's her words.
Is that how all books work?
Quiz
Only if
looks
you
at Kane.
buy the DLC.
Quiz looks at Kane for a long second and then says, "Yes.
I've never.
Why do you
seen
think I
that.
carry them with me?"
I think you've been buying the wrong books.
Or maybe you haven't tried. Quiz makes his eyes big. Hold on. I'm rolling deception.
Like, it wasn't
Hell
until that
yeah.
last. Fuck. Well, we're Jester now, boys.
I get a +10 to deception. That's why I wanted to roll.
Shit. Well, all right. Kane
Kane.
just kind of he looks down to the left, like he's thinking. He's like, what?
Kane, let me tell you something more specific though. It has to be a book about someone or something specific. A god, devil, high-ranking demons, whatever. I think I got that backward.
You did, but I know
Devils
what you
have
mean.
rank.
Yeah, I got
meaning-
you though. I know what you meant.
Okay, in canon I said it correctly because I do know.
Yes.
Whoever, someone important. You go to the back where there's extra blank space and you scrawl a note, ask a question, and you wait a while and it will fade. Then you'll get your answer.
That explains why I always buy books like I've never bought a book about a person. It's always
Yeah,
about places.
it doesn't work with porn. So
What is going
Places.
on? I came back and there was like something interesting and cryptic, and then it became pornography.
I was implying that Kane only buys pornos.
No, I think Kane's only read like I think 2 books the whole campaign. Both of which were about the air elemental plane. So
Brave,
read
just because
books
I
about-
want you to know, because it's funny, I just convinced Kane that if you get a book about a god or devil, demon, archfey, some big entity, if you write in the back of it, the ink will fade and they'll send you a message back.
Okay.
So that's where we're at.
Wait, so does that mean your friend is like a powerful archmage?
I wasn't sure until now, but I'm starting to get a picture that she is someone more than I thought she was.
Huh.
Yep.
Well, thanks for the information. I didn't know that.
So the Ashen Lady, though cryptic, is, I believe, to be Ella's mother.
Wait, so if we just buy a book about the Ashen Lady, we can talk to her directly, right? This will
love that
solve so
logic.
many problems. I
Yep.
wonder why no one else has done this before.
Takes a certain braveness to face a book. Anyways, I'm gonna go and oh, Casey. Anyways, it's getting kind of dark, so gonna go over here.
Yep.
So for the record, Radiclus, was what you were typing in chat any of it canon?
What did I type?
Well, you said let's steal the book. Like,
Oh yeah, no, that wasn't out loud. I was just saying that to you guys. Like, we need to stay up one night and I'm gonna camp out and steal his diary and read it.
okay.
By the way,
Like when they read Meg's diary in Family Guy.
quiz, it occurs to me that hit dice was a lame reward considering what I had planned. Do you have inspiration?
No.
I
Okay.
do.
On your character sheet, there's a little box towards the top that says inspiration. Mark it. Basically, you can spend that at any time in order to just get advantage on a roll.
Awesome. Yep.
Why
Alright.
do I have inspiration?
It was from a long, long ass time ago.
I know, I keep forgetting I have it. Like many things.
Like-
and it's a common theme, really.
Like, Johan had just left when I gave that to people. So,
Damn.
Like,
You know,
yeah.
actually, if you had,
You've had that
if
like for a couple years, I think.
I was so forgetful, we probably wouldn't have unleashed the apocalypse. Like,
Lols. All right.
Oh, that makes me even more upset.
So, if it's all right with everybody, I'm gonna sort of fast forward to the next day.
Kane helps everyone with their stuff again. You know, like
Yep.
lift heavy things for Fallon and whatnot, since he's the oldest.
Yep. You all spend a day just hanging in this glade. Talk over me if you want to do anything in particular, but otherwise, I'm assuming you're just sort of passing the time, keeping your eyes out, and waiting for whatever's going to happen to happen.
So
Finally,
today's chapter
Mhm.
is the flight out of Inangren to Kane's father's place.
Mhm.
It's a very on point, but sort of mean description of the what is he a djinn?
Yep.
Of the djinn we met. I talk a lot about how Kane's siblings are very nice. At one point, Quiz writes that he actually feels bad.
Feels what?
It feels empathy for you, or is it sympathy? Yeah, who cares?
Either way,
Feels
in this
bad.
case, I think.
Yeah, it feels bad for Kane that he finally gets to meet his dad, and it turns out to be a tool bag, right? And while if you were to read it, it would seem as though he's gearing up to change his outlook on Kane. He brings up that it makes him feel bad because he had a great childhood with his parents. And he then goes to talk about how he's reminded about a great birthday where his dad, did something, gave him an extra coin than he thought he was going to get, or whittled him a toy or something. Tells a story about his father, and then just proceeds to talk about the castle and moving on.
Talk about the beholder.
Oh yeah, no, we go into great detail about taking gnome salts and Bernie the Beholder, or whatever his name was. Was it Bernie?
I think it was
No.
Barry.
Yeah.
Barty.
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 Barty the
Yes.
Yeah,
Beholder.
Barty the Beholder, and
That needs its own chapter. Just that whole sequence.
yeah. The next chapter is just titled Gnome Salts. And it's taking gnome salts with Kane's douchey dad and Fallon, and the cheek clapping. Hey, there's Brave. I summoned him with the cheek clapping. That's what it looked like on my end. And we're recording this. Anyways, I detail out that part, and that's how Quiz spends his day.
Cool.
Right as I said that, Brady, for your camera kicked in. It's funny.
Well, I realized I lost sight of Radiclus and had to reconnect.
Oh my god, I'm crying.
But it is all about the booty clap.
Oh my goodness.
That's Quizmilligus's whole day.
Brilliant.
That just.
Oh yeah, actually that reminds me. Everybody deduct rations.
Oh man.
Oh.
I thought you were gonna say the booty clap reminds you or something.
Yeah, no. Not that.
No.
Can I take
I
a
see
ration
everyone.
out of the bag?
I mean, fine by me.
Okay.
I
Take
see
a ration
everybody.
out of the bag.
Hey everybody.
Hi, Dr. Nick.
What?
All right.
I said, hey, everybody.
So yeah.
Who's Dr. Nick?
So you go ahead and pass the day in the Feywild. Sun sets, moon rises, and lo and behold, as the moon starts to rise, you see a pale blue energy start to course through those faint lines on the stones until finally, rather suddenly, actually, it ramps up to sort of a pleasantly visible brightness, and the ground in between the stones is currently glowing.
Can
And
I roll a perception check to look for the leopard?
yes, you can. As you're doing that, Dom, who's hardly spoken this entire time, just like immediately walks into the middle of the stones and disappears.
Well, fucking damn it. We
Uh,
do things as a group, Dom, you fucking shit. I chase after him.
You look around, you don't see anything. You think he's gone.
Or is he? Dun,
Damn
dun,
it, Casey, I heard your die roll, you bastard. Um, quiz thinking everything's good and clear will go in.
All right. Is everyone else following Tavrith?
I mean,
will
I
follow.
chased immediately after Dom. I
Yep.
was like, wait.
Oh, okay. All right. So yeah. So yep. Let me just briefly say, Dom exits, and then Kane, you exit and like almost run into him.
Like, wait, oh, he's not. We do things as a group, Dom.
He nods and says, "Right." And you realize you like haven't heard his voice hardly for these past few days.
Wait, it's just us right now?
Yeah.
Never mind. People are gonna be behind us in a second now.
Yeah,
Never
and
mind.
just as you have that thought, the rest of the group comes piling out behind you, and you are in a sparser wood. Everybody give me nature checks. You notice that it's a different time. In fact, it's kind of like evening, you think?
Bye.
Let me see if either of your NPCs can help.
What a fucking great. Just
Oh,
we're the
wow.
best. We're gonna save the world, guys.
Those rolls from Dom.
This is actually heaven. The world already ended.
We're dead.
All right, here's Tavrith.
Come on,
Okay.
bring it home, Tavrith.
Unfortunately,
We
not
do.
good enough in this case.
Well, fuck.
That being said, one more set of rolls from everybody. Everybody, or actually, you know what? No, I'm just gonna give it to Colleen based on your earlier check to like remember things about the Feywild. It comes back to you that time dilation is fairly common given trips through the Feywild. That can work for or against you. So basically, like, given that it's a different time, you obviously did not stay like synced with the natural world. I mean, with the material plane during your
Gotcha.
journey. It could be that you were gone for a handful of hours and that this is simply later on the same day that you initially left. Or in a worst case, like a few months could have passed.
I'm having flashbacks to my old campaign. We went 10 years into the future. It's like, oh no.
And none of you are quite sure.
Can I try to use my sending stone since it's been 2 days?
Yeah, you can try to use it.
All right, I'm gonna send one. All right, I'm gonna say, hey, we're back from the Feywild. A couple more stops and then we'll meet up.
It fails to send.
Concerning.
Investigation.
Yes, please.
Do you tell us if
I will. Kane's gonna think about it first, and if he doesn't figure it out.
Colleen, are you mentioning the time dilation thing?
Yes, I will explain timey-wimey, wibbly-wobblies.
Yep.
Temporals?
Yep.
Kane, you hear the word temporals. You hear yourself say the word temporals. And when you say that, everything clicks into place in your mind. Your sending stone isn't working. You used it the day that you left the material plane. That means it must still be the same day.
Clearly.
Look at that fact-checking rock.
Casey just didn't want my plot to take up actual game time, in-world game time?
Actually,
No,
I did a random roll.
It's actually been 10 years, guys. You don't know yet.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I sometimes do decide stuff like that, but this time I literally rolled for it, and the dilation worked this way.
Well, we don't know how it worked yet. I mean, that's one reason it could have failed, but could have also failed because it's been 10 years and everyone's dead.
Also true.
Okay, in fairness, that is an option. If something has happened to the other stone, then it would fail to send, but you can, on a 17, I will mention that you could easily just test tomorrow and see if it works.
Kane shall do this.
Cool. So yeah, you do have the journal thing, so you know about where you should have come out. You should be right around here. So actually, you know what? I'll tell you what. I'll just move the little pink box to your location. You should be somewhere around there.
Yay.
Well, onward to our next stop.
Or
Was it
actually,
stop again? I
more
forgot.
like here. Yeah, so I believe you were planning to head up this away. With the amount of time you have left in the day, I'm going to say that it probably makes sense for y'all to sort of camp at the edge of the backwoods, maybe just to stay away from like towns and stuff. And then to get to this part is a pretty easy flyover on the next day. You'll have to work out your heading, of course, but
Let's remember not to use magic. Unless we chug a sippy sip.
No problem.
I will try to be better about that.
I'll make sure I won't use any magic.
It's really
Alright.
hard not to use magic when you use it for everything.
That's very true.
Get good.
All
We
right.
have, and that's why we use it for everything. You try going to the loo without magic.
To the what?
To the potty, the bathroom, the dirt maker.
Without magic? Wait. Why do you use magic to go to the bathroom?
You don't?
Wouldn't you like to know?
You know what? Actually, I don't. I don't want to know. I'm just concerned.
Imagine cleaning yourself without having to use your own hand. The real use of mage hand.
I figured to use prestidigitation, but okay.
I don't have that.
Wait, could you use prestidigitation? You wouldn't need like a bidet or anything. It's just like, well, I'm done. Snap your fingers. Instantly clean.
No, I have to use mage hand. You just hope you don't mix that one up with chilling touch.
Like when you
Or,
stick your tongue in an ice bowl.
Or shocking grasp.
Whew.
Yeah, chill touches the skeletal hand.
Oh god, I mixed them up again.
Shocking grasp.
That one helps you go to the bathroom a bit.
Oh wait, no, I got it. Big B's hand.
Oh no.
I want that spell so bad, but I can't get it.
Oh my god.
No bird.
All right. So, I imagine you all are going to be sort of traveling through the woods today. This occurs without incident. These woods are fairly easy to travel. Like I said, they're more sparse. Not that the woods in spring were all that dense, but these ones are even a bit more sparse than that. There's plenty of like grass and stuff between the trees. And you finally do just sort of settle in for the night and make camp. Let me see here. Yeah, okay. Tavrith is going to shift back into his dragon form at this point. And he'll sort of say, I think I've been wandering quite enough in that form for now. One does want to stretch their legs after a while. And you see him sort of settle in and seem actually comfortable. Looking at him, you know, he was pretty ragged after helping you guys to go fetch the axe. And for the first time since then, he is actually seeming like very well rested and sort of like himself again. And as he settles in next to the small fire that you've built, again for the first time, he doesn't like just drop to sleep right away. You see him sort of looking across at all of you. Everybody give me insight.
I will learn all his secrets. All his secrets. With this natural 20.
Or 16.
Or 6.
Hmm. I'm trying to decide if Colleen would actually roll insight for this, because it's not like anything deceitful. It would be more of a curiosity, I think.
Yeah, it's not trying to tell if he's lying, just reading his expression.
I'll do it.
Okay. Quiz, Colleen, you mostly just pick up that he actually seems pretty good tonight. Kane, you recognize an expression on his face that you reflect, like, has anyone seen this expression on the face of a dragon before? He's sentimental.
I give Tavrith a hug.
And he does not draw away from it. And actually, you realize, like, your heart may be growing a size, like, only like 1 degree, but he leans into it ever so slightly. Like, probably not even detectable visually, but you can feel it.
I break the hug when it feels appropriate.
He sort of looks at you as you pull away, and says, I'm remembering things. When I was first hatched, there were a number of us there. Myself and, well, you've met Savrit, I believe. We were all there. We were raised by Carulo and Innes and Miros. It was only a few years. We grew very quickly, and dragons cannot long tolerate each other's company. But that time, it was almost tender, and for all the imperfection of the present moment, I'm reminded of it now. And he doesn't hold your gaze long after that. He sort of turns away and stares into the fire, and you realize that even with him being a good dragon, he is still a dragon, and to talk in that way is highly, highly unnatural for him.
I missed the last bit of what he said there, Casey.
Oh, he said that the feeling was, quote, one for all the imperfection of the present moment that he was reminded of now.
Cool. Okay. Kane nods.
Quiz will make his
Kinda-
way kind of towards Tavrith and find a place to camp kind of in between him and the fire.
Okay. Perception.
And in a place where he has line of sight on Dom.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of a cool night. You hear Tavrith shift slightly in the grass, and sort of a bit of a chill breeze that was rolling over you, you realize is now blocked.
And Quiz is just gonna bundle his stuff up and sleep.
Oh, just real quick
Yes.
to Didja, because Kane has said this in character. He's talked about how he's been talking with Thule and Tirsa, and how we're going to go meet them in the city. So you do know Tirsa's name.
Oh, that might have been an episode I have missed a couple.
Oh, that's true. But you do know we're going to go end up meeting Tirsa in the city in a couple stops.
Oh shit.
And I have a direct line to her. Well, not direct, indirect line to her with my sending stone. So you know
Okay.
these things, just for the record. So you know.
Thank you. I gotta
Alright,
make
cool.
a note of that because there's something I'll probably do.
Yeah, because they're at that one. What was the city called again, Casey? The Mage City?
Ball here.
Yeah. Ball hair, yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. That was really good to mention.
I meant the ball hair bit, not the rest of it. I
Oh,
like the ball hair.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my best city name. It's right up there with Overwatch. And Urine the Mage. All right. I think I've just embraced that his name is Urine.
Yep.
All right. Cool. Well,
But,
that feels like a good place to end it. Let's end it on a happy, comfy note tonight.
Kane's gonna just try to sleep up against Tavrith if Tavrith allows it, because he's been trying to do this repeatedly. I feel like I don't know if he's ever succeeded or not.
Yeah. You get as you do that, you feel a slight tensing and then a relaxing.
Yes. Yes. Yes, we're best friends. All right.
Yep. And we will end there. Good night.
Kane's accomplished.